Hello everybody, it's Russ from American Detection. In this video, I'm going to break down the top 42 mistakes new metal detectorists make.
Metal detecting tutorials, technology, and treasure.
We're going to cover everything from gear goose to digging disasters. So if you're making even a couple of these mistakes, don't worry, we've all done them. We've all been there. So grab your detector, grab your shovel, and maybe grab a notebook. Let's get it on. First mistake we're going to talk about is not reading the manual. Hey, I don't like to read manuals either, but in these types of machines, you have to read the manuals. There's just a lot of stuff that you'll never know unless you read the manuals. Number 2 is not doing your research. In order to go where the treasure is, you've got to know where the people were before you. In a park or something like that, it's easy. But if you're looking for relics in places that don't exist anymore, research is the key. Number 3, not knowing the local laws. You have to know your local laws. Not every park you can metal detect in. Some require permits, some don't. It's wise to know the local laws. Number 4, that's digging on private property without permission. Got to get that permission. You've got to be a good steward of the hobby. We can't do trespassing. It just makes the whole hobby look bad. Plus, it's not right and it's illegal. Number 5, we're on 5 already. Number 5 is not digging a proper plug. There's a way to dig a plug so that you do not destroy the ground and the grass. Not filling in your holes. You've got to fill those holes in, otherwise it's unsightly. And if you have permission to be in private property, they won't invite you back. Or if you're at a park, they'll just make it so it's illegal for everybody to detect at that park. So fill your holes in. All right, so number 7 is using too high of a discrimination. So let's say you don't want to dig pull tabs anymore and you discriminate out pull tabs. You're discriminating out a lot, if not all, gold. So, try not to set that discrimination too high. Number 8 is not using headphones. Okay, the main reason you want to use headphones is so you can hear those deep, faint targets. It will also make your batteries last longer, so that makes it more economical. And it will also not annoy everybody in the park because they're listening to your beep, 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 beep when they're trying to enjoy a picnic. Another mistake is swinging that coil too fast. There's an old adage that says slow and low. So you want a slow coil and low to the ground, which leads us into the next mistake, which is your coil's too high off the ground. You only have a limited amount of reach. Let's say 6 to 10 inches. If you're 3 inches above the ground, well, you're really only detecting maybe 3 to 7 inches at that point. So scrub the ground. Get that coil as close to the ground as you can. And another coil issue is you'll see people lifting their coil at the tops of their swings instead of straight across. It's going whoop. So now on the outside edge, you're not detecting very deep. Same thing here. You're not detecting very deep. Swing that coil evenly across the ground. Another thing that goes right along with your coil swing is not overlapping your sweeps. So if you're moving real fast, you're not able to cover the ground completely. You'll get little 8-inch swaths if you have an 8-inch coil. So what you want to do is overlap your swings so that way you're covering all of the ground. Number 13 is not ground balancing your machine. If your machine has the capability to ground balance, you've got to take the time to ground balance before you go out detecting. That's just going to super tune your detector to the soil so that your detector can ignore the soil and reach deeper into the soil for targets. Another issue I see a lot is people will only dig the obvious signals. They won't dig those little faint whispers. Those little faint whispers are deep targets, and let's face it, people are kind of lazy, so a lot of people are going to ignore those If you dig those, you're going to see your old silver targets really take a jump. You're going to start digging a lot more of those. Another one is not digging perfect signals. This happens when people get too reliant on that target ID. So they're looking at the number and they know a silver dime is going to be 80, 80, 80, 80, but they'll see it 80, 69, 80, 68, 80, 80, 80, 72, 80, and they won't dig it because it's not a solid 80. Dig those non-perfect signals and watch your treasure finds go way up. Another big mistake I see is bringing the wrong gear for the terrain. When it comes to metal detectors, that's taking a big, 11-inch coil into an area that has a lot of junk or garbage. You want to bring your little 5-inch or 4-inch sniper coil so you can weave in and out of that. Another thing is wearing a winter jacket when it's going to be 80 degrees, so just know the terrain, know where you're detecting, know the environment, and bring the right equipment. Here's a big mistake I see a lot, and it's not wearing gloves. You have to wear those gloves because there are a lot of nails, there are a lot of glass, and when you're digging in the dirt, you will potentially get cut. If you wear gloves, you're going to limit that, and you probably won't have to go to the doctor and get a tetanus shot. Another issue I see is using cheap digging tools. People go to the dollar store and they'll buy these really cheap tools. They'll spend a ton of money on their metal detectors, but they won't buy the quality tools. These things just break. You end up spending more money in the long run because you keep buying stuff that breaks. So spend the money, get a quality digging tool. Not having a fines pouch. Fines pouches are, you need those. You need one that has two different pockets. One pocket for the good stuff, one pocket for the trash. All right, the next one is not checking your hole after you've gotten your target. I can't tell you how many times I've dug a really good target and then got up, filled the hole in, checked it. Guess what? There were more coins or another piece of jewelry in there. It happens all the time, so make sure to check and recheck your hole every single time. Here's a big one, is not having a test garden. A test garden will teach you so much about your metal detector because you're able to go out and detect known targets and really get a lot of information because you know what you're digging before. You can detect that test garden when it's raining, see what type of, how different it is. You can detect it when it's dry, see how your detector reacts differently. There's so much information you can get from a test garden. Here's a biggie, and it's really expecting to find treasure all the time, instantly. I'll tell you right now, if you are buying a metal detector because you think you're always going to find a bunch of silver and a bunch of gold, you're going to be disappointed. And it's that person that can get excited about digging a square nail because they know that's hand forged over 100 years ago. You will dig silver and you will dig gold, but it's going to be the exception, really. It's not going to be the norm. But if you do it enough and you swing enough, you can collect quite a collection of silver and gold. Here's another one, is really not finding other people to detect with. This is a great hobby to do by yourself, but it's a lot more fun, and you get access to a lot of other areas if you do it with somebody else, whether that's one friend or whether you join a metal detecting club. Something like that can really open up this metal detecting world that you've gotten into. Here's one that we all learned the hard way, is posting your finds and not obscuring the location. Because if it's really good, people are going to be able to figure out where it is, whether it's through the metadata information on your photo or your video, or whether you just show exactly where it is. I keep it really secretive on my really good spots. Somebody asks, hey, where did you dig that? I say, I got it in the ground, and that's as far as I go. Another one is, not having a pinpointer. Really, when you're out metal detecting, if you only have an hour to dig, and let's say it takes you 6 minutes to dig every hole because you don't have a pinpointer, well, that's 6 targets you get to dig. So you have 6 chances to get something really nice. Now, if you get a pinpointer and you can knock that down to, let's say, 3 minutes, I'm just picking numbers out of the air. Well, now you have 12 opportunities to dig something really good. So a pinpointer will speed your target recovery up, and it will get rid of about 90% of the frustration you have when metal detecting. Here's another one. Relying too much on the screen. I really don't even look at the screen anymore. I'm what's called a tone hunter. I listen to the tones. If it sounds good, I dig it. I rarely even look at that screen. I think a lot of people who have been metal detecting for a long time tend to be tone hunters as well. I mean, occasionally if I want to, double check something or something like that, I'll look at the screen. But really, go by tone. Here's a big one, is forgetting to bring, required gear or extra gear. Batteries for your pinpointer, batteries for your metal detector, extra water, snacks. There's nothing worse than getting out in the field, being in a really good spot, finding a lot of great stuff, and then say, oh no, I have to go get something. It's happened so many times. It will continue to happen because I forget stuff all the time, but just be aware of it. Try to bring everything that you need and extra. Not checking both directions when you're trying to decide if you're going to dig a target. You'll see this a lot. You'll go over a target and it'll sound bad. You might get iron, and then you turn 90 degrees, recheck, and all of a sudden now you're getting a nice solid signal. So when you're trying to decide if you're going to dig or not, check one direction, rotate, and check again 90 degrees from that. And if you can get a repeatable good signal on either direction, go ahead and dig it. Another one is, kind of being a park snob, like not going to a park because maybe it's newer, or you don't want to go to parks because it's not cool. Well, these can be gold mines. There's a lot of people at these parks, and you can, a virtual, literal gold mine, because people lose jewelry in parks. Not checking where people were. Where were they gravitating to? They were gravitating to maybe, a shade tree, or maybe a path, or maybe a stump. I know it sounds weird, but people go sit down next to a stump or sit on a stump. So go check these areas that you think people may have been to. Hunting in overly hunted or obvious spots where everybody goes. You really lessen the opportunity to find something because everybody's going there detecting. So kind of look for those off the beaten, forgotten path areas and go check those out. Don't throw anything away until you know that it is actually junk. I can't tell you how many times I've almost thrown away a good item that I thought was junk. And I hate to think of how many times I actually threw a good target away because I didn't know what it was and I thought it was junk. I'm sure it's, God, I just don't want to think about how many times I've done that. Speaking of trash, a big mistake is leaving your trash in the ground and not taking it out with you. You leave it in the ground, you go back there, guess what? You're probably going to detect it again and again and again if you never remove it. So just for that reason alone, let's forget about being a good steward of the hobby. Take the trash out, because you're going to save yourself time and frustration in the future. Here's another one, and you're doing it right now. Relying too much on online information. You have to go out and you have to win this knowledge. I used to call it hard-won knowledge. That's knowledge that you learned a lesson because you made that mistake. So get out there and learn your own lessons. Listen to me too because I'm an expert. But get out there and learn some of these things on your own because you'll run into stuff that I've never even thought about before. And when you do, come back here and comment on my video and let me know, because I would love to learn from your experiences as well. I kind of talked about number 40 a while ago, but this is dressing wrong for the weather conditions. Check that weather out, make sure you know what it's going to be, and then also bring, like, I always have rain gear. Even if we're not expecting rain, I have it with me just in case, because we all know how correct the weather person is. 100% of the time we don't have to worry about it, right? And then another problem is not taking care of your gear. You've got to wipe this gear down, you've got to keep it clean, you've got to get the moisture off of it. You know, especially if you're beach hunting, that salt water is just killer to metal. So make sure you take good care of your gear. In my last piece of advice, number 42 is probably my biggest piece of advice, is don't get frustrated because you're digging so much trash and you see these YouTubers digging all this amazing stuff. What they're not showing you is the multitude of trash that they've dug just to get that one target. It may seem like every time they go out they get a good target, a good find, but what you're not seeing is that may have been their third stop of that day, or that may have been 2 or 3 days in a row of hunting just so that they can put one video together. So don't get frustrated. You are digging just as much trash as they are, and to be honest, you're probably not digging as much because you're not trying to go out and make a video that people will sit down and watch. So don't get frustrated. Everybody digs trash. So there you have it, 42 mistakes that metal detectorists make. Even if you don't remember all of them, but you just remember a couple of them, you're further ahead of the game than you were before. Did I miss any? If I did, put your biggest mistakes down below so we can all learn from it. Did you enjoy the video? I really hope you did. Hey, if you did, do me a favor. The best way you can help support my channel is giving me a thumbs up or leaving a comment below. It really helps me out. But if not, no worries. I hope to see you in the field. But until then, have a great time, good luck, and keep on swinging.